on that time, you just put into the chat box so as we can discuss on that. I hope all the instructions are clear to everyone. So let me start with this session. So what we have today on our plate is introduction to mindfulness, relationship between mindfulness and stress, and what exactly the mindfulness is, what mindfulness will do for us, challenges in mindfulness practice or meditation, then what are the different types of mindfulness, and just a small bite of practice. So this is what we have in the next 45 minutes. So let me share a story regarding the mindfulness, or how mindfulness is very much own to us. It's very much part of us. The story goes like this: there was a beggar on a road, and he was sitting on that particular place for last 30-35 years. One fine day, while beggar was begging for pennies, sitting on his regular box, he was begging for pennies, and one gentleman passed by, and beggar asked him, "Can you please share some coins so as I can fulfill my day-to-day living? I'm very much hungry. Please help me." That gentleman looked at the beggar and asked him, "Sorry, I don't have anything to give you. Please forgive me." Then beggar again very humbly seeking for the help, the pennies or the coins, but still the gentleman very reluctant to give anything. And gentleman asked him a question: "What is that you are sitting on it?" He said, "That's just a box, and I'm using this box. I don't know for how long it is lying on the road, but I use it for the sitting for the last 30 years." So the gentleman asked him, "Why don't you open it? Have you checked what is there inside?" He said, "No, I don't think so anything valuable inside, because it is lying even before me." The gentleman continuously after the beggar, "Please open it." So somehow beggar and that gentleman able to open that box, and to their surprise, there was a huge golden coins inside and the treasure. The story is more or less, we all are sitting on such a box. We are in such a position that there must be somebody need to tell you there is a treasure inside the box you are sitting on. And the same thing is happened to our life. We need to be self-aware what the potential we have. The solutions we are looking around is not anywhere else than the self. So it is our almost need to look inside, look for the self, to get the maximum possible solutions for any kind of problems. So this is what mindfulness will take you to. Mindfulness will be a gentleman, and we as a personality, including all of us, are at the position of beggar. The mindfulness will give you a key to open that box for solutions that you have, or the problems you have in your life. So I don't think that mindfulness only will give solution for everything, but definitely mindfulness will provide you a sight, a vision to look at the problem very differently. Because we are looking at the problem like a box lying for last 30 years with that beggar. Similarly, problems are there with us for n number of years or days, but we don't have that sight. Look differently to the problem and solution will be there. So with this, let's move to the next slide. Purpose to select mindfulness in today's session. See, your theme for this lecture is theme for today's your lecture series.
Sorry to disturb you, Dr. Santosh. Hello.
Yeah, please.
Your voice is not that much audible. When the noise is there, can you clear it, please?
Yeah. Just a minute. Just let me know. Is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay now. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So why I selected mindfulness for today's session? As I saw the theme of your lecture series, natural, traditional, holistic healing approaches for healthcare and wellness. And since this phase is very trying and stressful due to this pandemic, so I thought, why not to give thought to the mindfulness practice. But before I select, what I thought, if I want to make this therapy, or if I want to offer this therapy to the entire community or analytical community like students and teachers, I need to demonstrate its benefits scientifically. Because we people as a paramedicals or pharma, we always very analytical for anything which come across. So I purposefully did some research on mindfulness. Okay, it is already there. I just reviewed and bring out together so as we can understand what mindfulness exactly. So before going in detail about mindfulness, how it helps to minimize or combat with the stress or anxiety, we have to understand the stress or anxiety, what it is. If you look at the stress is a response to threat in a situation. Whatever situation, for example, if you ask your student immediately, means suddenly from your student, from your class, come on, get up and give some presentation on this particular topic, student will face stress because that was a situation which caused threat to him, which leads to the stress as a response. But what is anxiety? When that stress come out, okay, that person, that student start sweating, his respiration rate goes high. That's called anxiety. Stress is a response to the situation or threat in a situation, and anxiety is a reaction to that stress. Okay, and if you look at nowadays, it's very easy to get into that trap, that pattern of continuous thoughts, laundry list of things to be done in a short period of time. Number of times it is ruminating on past events, or sometimes it is future, the situation. We are hypothesize the situation in the future. So all these causes the stress and subsequently anxiety. So due to this situation, due to this behavioral pattern change, person may feel depression, he may feel anger or irritation or restlessness, he may feel overwhelmed, unmotivated or unfocused, especially students, and even teachers also, troubling in sleep or less sleep, racing thoughts or constant worry. This particularly in this student category, constant worry, unknown. There is no reason behind us racing of the thoughts, but it is continuously ongoing. Then problems with your memory, concentration. I can't able to focus. I can't able to concentrate. See, now there is a gap for teacher and student, physical interaction, one-to-one interaction, and there are chances. If student take a book to read, he may face problem to memorize or concentrate on, focus on the concept. Reason, he is continuously in front of screen, he is continuously away from teacher. Okay, because your environment design, your environment create a soothing experience, that is in the school. Even in classroom can build an environment and bring that student in a comfort level. But now student is completely isolated, and there are chances he may feel continuous racing thoughts, and altogether these situations make that person to take bad decisions. Okay, maybe he reach into the bad habits, may he reach into the bad rituals, he may disturb his entire day, how to start and how to end up with the day, because since there is no college, no studies directly, so late night, screen watch, delayed in the sleeping, and so waking up in late morning. So these things will going to change, these things will going to happen, and that create stress or anxiety. So after studying all these behavioral pattern, it leads to the certain metabolic disorders or disorders. That may be lung problem. Very major problem in the Western countries is asthma, and asthma is because of stress and anxiety due to only ritual changes, only day-to-day habit changes. Then there are headache. This is very common headache. Late evening headache is a indicator of stress or anxiety. You accept it or not, but headache, if you find headache late in the evening, say for example after getting or after reaching to home from your office or a school or college, if you are facing headache, then it's clearly indicating you are going through unknown anxiety, unknown stress. Okay, that leads to the heart disease, that may lead to the fatigue, that may lead to the circulatory problem, that is high blood pressure, and finally end up with insomnia. You can't able to sleep for a long time, or perfect sleep, optimum or deep sleep. So that's how it leads to the different diseases. Now let's correlate stress and our neurology or a brain. For that, I need your attention to two parts. First one is amygdala and second is cortex. Being a pharma student or being studied pharmacology or human anatomy and physiology, we know what amygdala is. Okay, but psychologically, amygdala stand apart from all the organs because amygdala has something different to do with entire behavior. What amygdala is? Amygdala is the part of our body, organ of our brain that gives meaning to your emotion. That gives meaning to your emotion. It remembers the emotions and the label which we attach. And accordingly, if such a situation arises in future, it immediately get that label and stick to that emotion. That previously I had similar situation, similar emotions, and this is exactly the same, even if it is not same. So this is what the very worst behavior of amygdala. And it is very quick in action. Very quick in action. I will explain it how. See, have you heard about fight and flight response? Of course, say for example, if suddenly something come to close to our eyes, we normally used to close the eyes. That is a response. Okay, that is a fight or flight response. And why this? And this response is amygdala's character. This fight and flight response is a characteristic property of amygdala. It's only because of amygdala in our normal behavioral pattern. So what exactly and how this fight and flight response nurtured in our neurology? It started long back in the history of human being. In early days, humans were exposed to a constant threat of being killed or injured by wild animals, because we in our early ages, we live in the jungles. We were tribals. And in that particular era, from that era, amygdala is get nurtured, get evolved. Okay, and how it evolved? Evolved with the situations. And so fight and flight response is started from that age. And now this fight and flight response behave in a different manner to the different threats. To improve the chances of survival, we as a human being started to learn this fight or flight response. And as soon as they passed, we subsequently evolved in the different form. Say for example, nowadays we have different kind of fight and flight response. Suppose you got a fake call or you got an advertised call, and these calls are continuous in number. Then what you will do? You will either block that number or you will complain it to your service provider that this is the problem I'm facing from your service. So this either you flight or fight. Fight, you complain against, and flight, just put it on snooze or block that number. Just normal example. Now this pattern of fight and flight changed. But After this, during this evolution, there is another part of the brain which is also getting evolved. Okay, that part is cerebral cortex or frontal lobes of cerebral cortex. Look at my hand. This is 5-finger brain model. My thumb is my amygdala. Okay, and these 4 fingers are cerebral cortex, frontal lobe. This portion is very close. This is a brain stem from where all the informations are coming to the brain, and these information are immediately recognized by amygdala, which is not further processed to frontal lobe, and frontal lobe remains uninformed about the situation, and amygdala take all the actions, decisions, and label emotions. This is called as amygdala hijack. But if the things happen like amygdala doesn't involve, or we will not allow amygdala to involve in the decision making, and we will close it. We will hide the amygdala's role and allow the information pass to the frontal lobe. This frontal lobe is acting for decision making, reasoning, remembering, planning, forecasting. So this is new form of your neurology, advanced version of amygdala's activity. So this is how frontal lobe and amygdala, they work together. Decide stress. There is one concept coined by Daniel Goleman, who is an emotional intelligence scientist. What amygdala hijack means? Amygdala doesn't allow to pass this information, and it hijack like this. Now amygdala will overpower the frontal region, cortex, and so the things will not going to have reasoning or proper decision. It is just random decision. That is called as amygdala hijack, which activate the fight or flight response. And today, these threats, these physical threats, are converted into the psychological threats. For example, pressure, work pressure, it may be peer pressure, it may be social pressure, number of psychological pressures. How to avoid and train the amygdala, or how to avoid and train the brain to avoid amygdala hijack? See, this amygdala hijack can be eased, can be slowed down. Okay, it cannot be seized. It can be eased. It can be slowed down by activating your frontal cortex, by rational, logical activities providing to your brain. So what we need to do in this case? First, we have to acknowledge what is that feeling of threat. Why this feeling of threat occur? What is the source of that feeling? And don't let your fight or flight response activated. Become aware about the trigger, that is source. Warning signs. Okay. Notice when they arise, when they are present. And to handle this situation, to avoid hijack, the best way is to breathe. Attention on your breathing. Because during hijack, what happened? There are two stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. They get released. Okay, during the hijack, they get released. And what is the role of adrenaline? All you know. It pumps the blood. It increases the respiration. It increases the perspiration, sweating. Okay, it gives power to the muscle. It widens the pupil. So everything that is elevated action, so as you can fight the trigger or flight from the trigger. So adrenaline work in this case. To control the adrenaline, we have to keep continuous watch on your breathing. That will give you clear-cut idea about what to do, and this is called as pause. When you take slow breathing, you take pause and don't allow your amygdala to work immediately on the information, and that information subsequently pass to the frontal lobe where actual rational logical decision making happens. You can deal the situation very wisely if you take pause, if you control breathing. Here is what happens if we consciously breathe, if we keep control on breathing. That is called as mindful breathing, and entirely this practice is called as mindfulness. I will define mindfulness in the next slide, but this is what scientific proof. If you look at this figure where yellow part is large, that indicates, look at the scale, the activity of amygdala is 6.2. Okay, and after the 8-week continuous 8-week mindfulness breathing or mindfulness practice, the yellow portion come down to 2.32, 3 times less active amygdala after mindfulness practice. And as amygdala activity goes down, frontal lobe action increases, your decision power increases, your rational thinking increases, your memory increases, your concentration increases, okay, and overall your circulation, breathing. Look at amygdala in action, adrenaline, blood pressure increases, rate of respiration increases. If these things cease or ease, amygdala is not active, then all these hyperactive situations goes back to normal. Your blood pressure remains in the normal state, your respiration remains in the normal state, your thinking ability or your conscious decision making ability increases. So altogether, if we only keep track of our breathing, we can reduce stress 3 times. Look at that, 6.20 to 2.32, almost 3 times less active amygdala. That means with mindfulness, we can minimize 3 times less hyperactivity. In this way, mindfulness can take us to some different level of peace, some different level of satisfaction. Let's go to the next slide. What exactly mindfulness is defined as? Mindfulness is the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose of your action. Present moment and non-judgmentally look at that situation or things. Means you need to carefully attain the purpose of situation or the things, accept it whatever present moment it is, and don't judge that situation, don't judge that situation or the things, accept it as it is. This means paying attention to the things that are really in a given moment of time and not what we want them to be. Don't hypothesize, don't give any meaning to anything, because labeling to the situation is work of amygdala. If you are labeling to the situation, say for example, while say, just for example, normally it happens in the students. If there is one group sitting and chatting in one corner of the class and another group just entered in the class, and without having any intention, that corner group just looked at that coming group. That coming group will have intention, have that kind of thinking that the group is discussing about us. Without any reason, what this group did, their amygdala labeled that the emotions coming out of them is for me. They are discussing something about us. It immediately, without any pause, without any rational thinking, this emotion is labeled that this is particularly for us. So this happened. Don't judge any situation. Let it flow. So mindfulness will discover how to live in the present moment, and the more prominent way, it will provide you enjoyable way rather than worrying continuously about the past and being concerned about the future. So mindfulness will give us idea how to be in the present moment, how to live in the present moment. But don't confuse. Mindfulness will not give you anything to fix your problem. As I said in the very first slide, it will not give you solution. Yeah, this is the solution for this problem. No, mindfulness will not fix any problem. Mindfulness is not stopping about the thoughts. It will not belong to any religion. It will not going to give you any escape from reality. In fact, it will give you awareness about the reality. And after all, it is not one-stop solution for everything. It is not panacea. We have to work step by step to reach to the mindful step. That is called as Zen mindfulness. Zen, Z-E-N mindfulness. This is a peak level of mindfulness. Okay, it will not give you, or the purpose behind the mindfulness practice is not any intent to relax from the situation or relax in the situation. Our aim is to feel content. Whatever we have right now with us, feel content. Be satisfied. Okay, trying to relax only cause. Okay, or it will accept moment by moment experience. So this is how mindfulness will give you not exact relaxation, but a soothing environment. Now, before going to see by one how we can practice mindfulness, let me share, please share with me what is your score in the MAS, mindfulness attention. Can you please share your score?
Sir, average score or total score?
If you have average score, no problem. If you have total score, still no problem. But average score will make me comfortable to decide and discuss upon.
Okay.
In chat box, you can drop your score, that is average score. .46. Okay. Anybody? 3.6. 2.8. I want at least 3.2, 3.95, 3.8, 3.8. 4.7. Okay. Fine. It's okay. It's okay. So we just want 10, 15 to get idea about it. That's all. So, okay, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Now at average is, means altogether average is more than 3. And to your surprise, let me share with you. Zen meditator, the person who is most mindful, has a score more than 4. Most mindful. It is very difficult to get this score more than 2.5. If you carefully look at the questions, you will understand. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah. What now you have to do is, all you got the score, average 3.5 to 4.7, what I observe. But without any intention to, disrespect anybody's score, but please make sure you are honest while scoring. Don't, hypothetically mention your score. This will lead you to very wrong direction, because the things which I'm going to tell you after this is very important to be more mindful. Look at each and every question, each and every statement. Wherever your score is less than 3, wherever your score is less than 3, these are the areas, because these areas include anger, compassion, your helpful nature, okay, your understanding to the problem, okay, your understanding of emotions for others. Everything is included in all these 15 questions. So please don't hypothetically mention any value. Try to be honest. Reason being, after research of 83,000 participants I'm talking about, in Ohio State University, Department of Psychology, this scale is built. 83,000. Under that 83,000 participants, there were only few numbers who they are more than 3.5. Reason being, we normal being are continuously either in future or in past. We are continuously ruminating in our past or most focus on future. We never live in moment, present moment, and that's the key. Our average value of mass, mindfulness, attention awareness scale is less than 2.5. So after this session, this sheet is with you. Practice it again. Understand the question. I'm not saying the score given by you is wrong. It's okay, absolutely fine. But try to understand the statements. Just for example, one statement. I could be experiencing some emotions and not be conscious of it until some time later. Understand it. If you say 6, it means you are very quick to decide. If you say 1, then you are very late to decide. So what it should be? आपको हर बार ऐसे लगता है कि मुझे इमोशंस आता है लेकिन मैं उसको कॉन्शियसली अवेयर होता हूं कुछ समय बाद. It means you are not focused. You are not focused. So consciously understand each and every statement so as you can get the detailed mindfulness skill. Okay? I hope I made it clear what is the skill. In chat box, you can ask me any question if you are on the scale. Quick. If you have any question on the scale, please come up with the question or your doubt. If not, I will continue. Okay, this was the part 1. What we have understand is stress, anxiety and its source. Okay, how the source arise in our routine life. And now onwards, we will see how mindfulness we have to incorporate in our routine life. Anybody? Okay, what score tells that guidance is required for that person? What score tells that guidance is required for them? Yes, of course, ma'am. As I said, wherever you find in all the 15 questions or 15 statements, wherever your score is less than 3 or less than 3, you have to understand that statement, because this statement is not a statement. It is a pattern of behavior. It may be anger related, it may be empathy related, it may be kindness related, it may be openness related, it may be compassion related. So all these patterns are there. Understand where your score is less than 3. Look at that part of your behavior, whether you are not kind enough or you are more kind. Okay, you are excessively understandable. So that kind of consultation or guidance you need. Okay. Yes, thank you. So now let's go to the next part of the second part of this session, mindfulness meaning, paying attention. Okay, for that I will going to give one story. There is a professor sitting in the canteen, okay, and having sip of coffee, and suddenly there was a student came to him very rushing, and he put on a paper, put a paper on his table and said, dear sir, this is what my finding is and I want to publish this paper. The professor looked at that paper, looked at boy and said, how long you are working on this? Sir, for last 3 months. Wonderful. This is a very nice piece of information, very constructive, and it can be published, definitely. But before you publish this, I will give you one website. Please go to this website and visit. Okay. So this boy was recently admitted to this college. The professor was not completely aware to this student. Okay. So both of them not having any clear idea about each other, but still professor dealt very cautiously, very calm and composed, and asked student to visit the website, and he given that website on a paper. Boy reached to the website and he find out that the website is belong to the same professor. He's working on that particular area, okay, on which that student prepared information, prepared a script, and the professor was working last 40 years in that area. Okay, and that information what he prepared was very much superficial if we look at the profile of that professor, but without any aggression, okay, without any rejection, he accepted whatever student, whatever that boy taken efforts, he respected that efforts. Okay, he paid attention without any discourage, very calm and composed he provided his information. So here all these 5 points, completed how mindfulness will help you in student-teacher relationship. Pay attention. What boy was saying, professor was completely attentive. He was in the present moment. He read the information. He did not reacted. He responded. He did not reacted. He responded, boy. He did not judge the content. अरे ये तो मैंने 10 साल पहले किया हुआ है, आज तू लेके आया. He not judged the content. He simply responded, okay, and open-heartedly he provided his own information to verify. If we practice mindfulness, this much composed or calm nature we can achieve. See, mindfulness to the teacher is not solution for boy, solution for the student, but now student has vision. Now student has a sight to understand. Okay, look at this. Means both the ends, student and teacher, at the benefit. Only practicing mindfulness, only responding in moment, only attention, only non-judgmental. So all this way, mindfulness can bring a very successful and healthy behavior in the classroom and school. Let's go to the next slide. Now just look at, if you are not trying to paying attention or we are become judgmental, just try to focus on word no and try to visualize. Can you visualize anything on word no? Can you visualize anything on word no? Try to focus by saying no, 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 and try to visualize. Can you find a figure? Can you find any figure? Absolutely not. Because no, nothing, not, there is no figure. There is no meaning to it. Very practical. So we have to focus on what is available and what is not there in the picture. Normally what we do, just take an earlier case. A boy came to professor, instead of listening to him, instead of paying attention to him, if immediately without attending, rejected. Okay, rejected. There is no meaning. There is no meaning. Boy will not understand what actually happened. Even teacher at the loss, what kind of information student may brought. Both are at the loss because they focus on no, focus on negativity. So don't pay attention to any negativity. Just focus on, and focusing also not simple task. Okay, it need a systematic way. It include awareness of the thought. Okay, you need to listen carefully, active listening, not hearing, listening, active listening. That will discover your habit. This active listening will become part of your behavior after the regular practice. So active listening is not kind of magic that today we'll discuss and tomorrow onwards you will have active listening. No, it's not. You have to practice it. And active listening means non-judgmental listening. Your thoughts have massive impact on your emotion and the decision. As I said, amygdala will create emotion or label the emotion, but who will take the decision? Your frontal lobe. If your amygdala is involved, there are chances your reactions are more violent. So as we need to have responses, not reactions. So mindfulness will give you how to give response rather than reactions. So what mindfulness can do for us being a student? So as a student, you can improve your classroom behavior. You can enhance your ability to pay attention. I'm sorry. Student can enhance their ability to paying attention. Okay, just for a minute, follow my instruction. Just for a minute. Wherever you are sitting, whatever posture you are, okay, just focus on your toes. Focus on your toes. आपके पैरों की उंगलियों पे आपका पूरा ध्यान रखिए. Just try to observe the friction between the surface and your toes. If you are wearing slipper or chappal or shoes, just try to feel that sensation. Be aware about the environment around your finger, around your toes. You will have a specific temperature now. You will sense a temperature. If you are wearing any footwear or not, doesn't matter. Still, you will have some tingling sensation on toes. If you are paying attention to your toes. Just look at your calf muscle. Pay attention to your calf muscle. Whether you are sitting, sleeping, whatever posture you are having. Just try to get aware about it. There is a slight pain on it. Till now, you have not worried about it. You are not aware about these temperature, tingling sensation or slight pain. But now as you focus on that, you realize. So simply if you practice paying attention to particular, say for example, if you are paying attention to the movements of hands of your teacher, just pay attention for some time. Slowly divert your attention to the words what your teacher is telling you. Slowly you will understand. You will grasp more. In this way, you can enhance your ability to pay attention. And that way, you can minimize your level of depression. You can cope up with the emotions. Okay. And this way, you can learn or you can improve your learning. You can have better extracurricular activities because now you are allow yourself to observe minute changes, to observe in a present moment. So now you become mindfulness. You become mindful. Okay. So for teacher, being a teacher, how mindfulness will be beneficial for you? Get your student in mindful mode. Emptying their mind. This is very important. Before delivering, you need to empty the mind. Emptying of mind. This is very important because you need to have a kind of icebreaker with you for every lecture. Bring out whatever emotions there are there in mind of the student. Bring out them. Clear them or replace them. In our pharmaceutical language, mask them temporarily. Okay. So as there will be new covering, new information can be embossed on it. So you should have icebreaker regularly with you. A story, a joke, whatever related to your subject, or whatever you need to make them mindful or make them in the present moment. You need to use such tools. Okay. Use mindful language. This is very important. Mindful language. Only tone of your voice. Only tone of your voice can bring them from one phase of mindfulness or one phase of behavior to the another phase. Tone of your voice is very, very important. Simply tone of your voice. So this way, mindfulness can help teacher. What mindfulness beyond the student and teacher do? It will lower the blood pressure, slow down the cardiovascular system. It restores the balance, especially digestive balance. It relaxes the nervous system and so the muscle strains. Those who are, as I said, headache, muscular pain, specifically muscular pain in this region, okay, back, upper, shoulders, okay, this muscle. If you're having pain in this muscle, it is clear indication of stress, and simply mindfulness practice can relieve that pain because it is a relaxation of nervous system, and so the muscular pain or muscular tension can be bring down, diminishes the intensity of headache or migraine, free the mind from self-doubt. This is again very, very crucial nowadays. Whenever we go out, even we are wearing masks, taking every care, still we have that self-doubt. Do I got any droplet? Chances to nahi hai. So we are continuously under stress. So if we are practicing mindfulness, that self-doubt, okay, or internal dialogues can be reduced, or internal dialogues can be replaced with a positive one. So this way mindfulness can bring out changes into the routine life, and ultimately it reduces the anxiety. So I hope I made it clear what actually mindfulness will do in the two student and teacher's role. Finally, mindfulness is exactly opposite to the ruminative thinking. बार बार वही एक ही थॉट को लेके हम उसको अलग अलग एरिया में डाइवर्ट कर लेते हैं. What will happen to this? What will happen if my result is not good? What will happen if I face to have exam? What will happen for teachers? What will happen after this lockdown? How management will deal with us after the lockdown or during this lockdown? There are so many, n number of questions. So this is a ruminative thinking. So mindfulness will give stop to that ruminative thinking. It will act oppositive. Okay. It teaches to attach labels to the thoughts or detach from the emotions. Okay. If we understand, if you are able to learn the handling emotions, we can give ourselves a positive thought process, give us positive thought pattern. It teaches that thoughts are thoughts, not facts. These are not facts, because we are thinking about future or we are ruminating about the ruminating on the past. So that is only thoughts. It's not fact. What is fact? Fact is present. Fact is this moment. Okay, there's very common and normal activity in the mindfulness training. What is time now? What is time now in your watch? Everybody says, now it is 4:15, 4:16. Now it is. So you take any time, it's now. So we don't have to think about what was the time before 20 minutes and what will be time after 20 minutes. I'm sorry. So we have to focus on what is time now. So we have to focus more on what is the current situation, present moment. Okay, it will teach us not to judge. Okay, teach us not to judge. It also gives us self-compassion. And as well as it will make us aware about the compassion for others and compassion to the experiences. So normally we used to behave in a two mode, autopilot mode and mindful mode. Autopilot जैसे चल रहा है, सुबह उठे ब्रश किया, उसको ब्रश करने में we don't have to apply any extra knowledge to brush the teeth. But if we become mindfulness, we become mindful, then we will apply that mindful thought on brushing even. If you are taking morning walk, have a mindful walk. Okay, focus on each step. Or if you don't want to focus on step, just focus, take one area, listening. Try to focus on chirping of birds. Okay, there is a noise of dry leaves. Just have that particular attention. So autopilot mode to mindful mode. That makes us mindful. Say for example, you are cooking. If you are cooking, instead of diverting your mind or allow your mind to wander here and there, just try to bring your mind to the smell, whatever smell, whatever article you are cooking. Try to get that smell. Try to be aware about that smell. Have that smell very cautiously. Okay, one by one, each step. That is mindful activity. Earlier it was, मतलब कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है कि आपने पूरा सब्जी बना लिया लेकिन पता ही नहीं चला कि किसके बाद क्या डाला, लेकिन सब्जी बन गई. But now you have to be mindful. Take a time. After every addition, be mindful. Have you observed? If you are reading a book, suddenly you get to aware that 3 pages I read, but I don't know what was there in that 3 pages. I read each and every word, but I didn't understand because you are not paying attention to words. Your amygdala was reading, not the frontal lobe. So we have to be mindful instead of autopilot. So autopilot mode or autopilot life is what we resist, it persists. Mindful way, what we accept, transfer. Just be mindful, accept it, acknowledge it. Okay, and practice this. You will become mindful. Okay, this is what I already discussed, how to be mindful. Scientific proof. These are the 2 persons well known in this area. John Kabat-Zinn of Massachusetts University and Richard Davidson from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Both are professor of psychology and psychiatry. They prove mindfulness increase happiness. These are the 2 people. They are practicing mindfulness for a very long time. Addition to that, India's very own meditation practice is Vipassana. Vipassana is a complete mindfulness practice. It is 2,500 years old technique. Okay, this is the best and prime evidence of mindfulness giving freedom from all anxiety and depression. what are the challenges we have? The challenges, like sometimes when we start or when we are thinking about mindfulness to practice, what are the some issues? Say for example, if I say mindfulness, whatever we discuss, some of you may have thought like, yeah, it's simple, I can do it perfectly. I will try hard to get mindful. I should have to focus 100% for best results. No, this cannot be done. Because once you start, you will have these further statements like, I can't focus at all. I can't do it. That was bad meditation. मैं meditation करते करते सो गया. So these are the issues, these are the challenges. So what we need to, don't jump to the conclusion. I can do it. No, wait, take a pause. I should focus 100% for best result. Need not to. Your 1% focus is enough. So coping statement, कैसे हम उसको cope करेंगे? My mind is bound to wander. Accept it. My mind is bound to wander. Mind is a monkey. It will going to jump here and there. Accept it. While meditating, while you close your eyes, accept whatever feeling you are getting, accept it. And say, it is what it is. Be gentle, be kind, and just bring your attention back to your original destination. If you close your eyes, don't force anything. Don't force on your breathing. Don't force stopping your thoughts or feelings. Let it. Just let them flow. Don't apply any force on it. Now, before begin mindful practice, just remember, you cannot decide to focus and then come 100% with without any issue. It's not possible. Don't decide, मैं 100% concentrate करूँगा. Because meditation is a gym for mind. More you practice, more strong it becomes. Okay? No need to make huge effort. ज़्यादा extra करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. 1% attention is enough. And be kind. Be kind. And for that, I have summarized this into the snack. Mindful snack. Stop. Notice what the feeling is. Accept that feeling. Be curious about the feeling. And be kind about the feeling. So if you give the snack to your mind will become mindful. For sure. Type of mindfulness. These practices or actions are categorized into the 6 types. Majorly. Mindful breathing. आप बस में हैं, कार में हैं, या you are traveling on your own bike, you can have mindful breathing. If you are walking, morning walk or evening walk, even after lunch, you are walking from one lab to another, one class to another, still you can have mindful walk. Body scan while sleeping. In yoga, there is one asana, Shavasana, the best posture to have body scan. As I instructed you, just concentrate on your toes, one particular organ, and slowly each and every organ of your body. Just focus on that organ and slowly from down to upwards, from toes to the head. Ek organ, just be aware about that organ. That's called as body scan meditation or body scan mindful meditation. Mindful eating. There is a very strong and very faithful practice of Kishmish mindfulness. Okay? The dry grape. Just hold that grape and try to feel that posture, that texture. Slowly and slowly you can find the changes in the color. Okay? After that it becomes smooth. Means mindful eating also can give you a wonderful reason. इसलिए बोलते हैं कि खाते समय एक एक वाला मतलब एक एक बाइट लेके 32 times उसको रिपीट करना है. This is because mindful eating. Just how enjoy the each and every taste. Allow your saliva completely imbibe with the eating with your food. Mindful yoga, it's very common. Mindful yoga, mindful tai chi practice. This is Chinese practice, similarly like breathing practice. So these are the 6 mindful meditation practices are available. We can have mindful melody. This is very common nowadays. Get into the Shavasana. Put your headphone or earplugs. Start a soothing music. And just realize, how did you feel? What did you like about that music? And while listening, while enjoying, what is the challenge? Getting challenged, thoughts आ रहे हैं, concentrate नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. These are the common challenges. After some days, you will have no such a feeling. आपको problem नहीं करेगा कोई thought, because you are practicing. You are giving lot amount of snack to your frontal lobe, and that way your brain become more mindful. Your amygdala is not active that way. So slowly and steadily you will get the mindful state. This mindful melody is the best practice. You start it from now and you will find the amazing result. You will find amazing result. For more understanding, you can read this book, Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Here you will find how to live in the present moment. Otherwise, our own, very own practice, attain and practice Vipassana. So that's all from now, my side. Whatever information about mindfulness as an introduction, wanted to share with you, I already delivered. If you need anything or if you want to clear anything, questions are welcome. Please. I'm done with my part.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh. In order that there would be no disturbance, sir switch off his fan and he continued without fan. So this shows his dedication, and we are lucky to listen you, sir. So for me, mindfulness is simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it were different, enjoying the pleasant without holding on when it changes, and being with the unpleasant without fearing it will always be this way. So now we will move to the question and answer session. I will request participants to post their questions in chat box. So the first question is from Shubhangi Dada. As brain, especially amygdala and frontal lobe, is involved in mindfulness practice. So is there any specific caution or contradiction that needs to be considered to treat a person having bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, psychosis, or major depressive disorder? So,
first of all, ma'am, bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or psychosis, these are somewhat advanced version of the disorders. Because there are some chemical involved in this particular disorder which disturb the entire brain process. So first of all, mindfulness will not prescribe or ask to any such patient which or who they cannot have control on their own activities. Not prescribed without any supervision. They cannot do themselves. Of course, these practices can be done with them, even bipolar or a schizophrenic patient, giving wonderful results. Okay, but they need continuous observation. There is no specific precaution as such, except there should be one instructor with them continuously while they are practicing this mindfulness meditation. One practitioner need to be there. That's the only condition. Am I making it clear, Shubhangi ma'am?
yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Any more questions are there? Yes, it is there.
Say about the high premium for on multitasking, especially for women. If unable to do everything. Actually, as far as mindfulness and emotional intelligence practitioner, as a person, I will tell you, there is no such a thing multitasking. very bold, but let me explain. If, as you said, specifically women, I agree. While cooking, they have to look at timing. Okay, but can you observe? They are multitasking. Means what they are doing? Actually, they are focusing one thing at a time. Of course, they have number of work in front of them, but what they are doing at a time? One thing, of course. Okay. And in that condition, your subconscious mind is working. For example, जैसे मैंने बोला, खाना बनाते वक्त सीक्वेंस पता ही नहीं चलता है, सब्जी बन गई है, मतलब कहां से उन्होंने कोई एक डब्बा उठाया, उसमें से कुछ डाला. That particular lady doesn't know what happened, but subconsciously, brain mind will do it everything for her. Okay, access, it's only one activity, only monotask at a time. Monotask at a time. So it's not multitask actually, but consciously and unconsciously they are bringing up together. But in that case, if you practice mindfulness, that stress, specifically what you say, feeling of guilt, will definitely goes away if you practice mindfulness. I hope, Dr. Tina, I satisfied your answer question.
Yes, thank you, sir. Any more questions are there? Okay. I hope all questions are answered. Now we will move to the last session, last point, that is the vote of thanks. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this session. On behalf of Arizona College of Pharmacy and Dr. Ashwini Madgulkar, I thank Dr. Santosh Sheth for very informative and interesting session. I would like to express our profound gratitude to Shri Maloji Raje Chaturvedi, Honorary Secretary and Order Office Bearer, AISSM Society. I thank our Principal, Dr. Ashwini Madgulkar, for her encouragement and constant support. I would also like to thank media team, AISSM College of Pharmacy. I specifically thank all participants for their active participation. Thank you all. Now here I declare today's session is closed. Thank you again. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.